Daniel Jones, who finished QB number 9 last year, 317 completions on 472 attempts, 67% completion percentage, 3,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and got those bonus yards, such as how he finished QB number 9, 120 runs, 708 yards, and 7 rushing touchdowns. Kevin, your thoughts on Daniel Jones?
If his rushing ability stays intact, then I like the ability to kind of be that sneaky back end of QB1 again, right? And it is because of his rushing attack. It's not that he wows us with his arms. There was a lot of games where he was under, 225 yards passing, but the fact that he could get you 80 yards rushing and that he's not afraid to run the ball in when they're in the red zone, it makes it easy for a second quarterback, right? Daniel Jones is not going to be anybody's first choice, but it's not a bad option. In like super flex leagues, Daniel Jones isn't a bad second quarterback. It does help that his rushing ability could put him over the edge there. So 11, 12 again. You want 25 passing touchdowns. You want somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,600 yards passing and another 700 yards rushing, right? Like just over 4,000 total yards for Daniel Jones, and I think that's a success.
I think 700 might be a stretch rushing.
I think
it was a career year for him last year, with everything except for passing touchdowns. But it was a career year for him, in terms of completions, in terms of his completion percentage. He took a big jump up, and passing yards, the touchdown numbers. Again, I think that was maybe more of a product of the fact that he just didn't have consistent wide receiver play around him. We talk a lot about receivers being only as good as the quarterback throwing to them. And I think last year, Daniel Jones was only as good of a quarterback as he had receivers to throw to. And that's not really the case that we often see in this league, right? Because you can usually just kind of plug and play, and there's a ton of good receiving talent out there. That a good quarterback can support that. I think the 700 yards, that was a big jump up from what we've seen from him. I see that number probably regressing. I think you bring in a Darren Waller to maybe protect a Daniel Jones a little bit more from having to do that. QB9, I don't know that he finishes QB9 again, but I agree with you, Kevin. I think back half, right there, fringe QB1 territory, so at 12, 13. And if he's your second quarterback in a 2-quarterback league and he's finishing at 12 or 13, you'd have to feel really good about, where you're at. All that to say, I don't know that I'm targeting him this year.
Yeah, Alex, I don't know that we see him regress all the way down to 450. I think that there's still 600 plus rushing yards in this guy this year. Brian Daboll and that offense likes to have a quarterback that runs the ball and likes to keep that as a weapon there. Daniel Jones can certainly run, and he's quick, right? Like he's got a little wiggle to him. So not going to surprise me if we see this guy get close to about 100 rush attempts, maybe even a little bit more, and 600 plus yards on the ground. I think you'll probably also see him take a little bit step forward through the passing touchdowns on that as well. I think we see him take a couple more there. I think you're all right. I think we do see the rushing touchdowns come down there a little bit, but again, not going to surprise me if we see him. We look up the end of the season, we see him with 22, 23 total touchdowns between his rushing work and his passing work there. I could see him getting to around that number there. Call it 3,500, 3,600 yards through the air, about 600 yards on the ground. So this is one of those that I don't know that we see him repeat as a QB1 on there, but he's going to be darn close to that fringe QB1